Among the other aspects and cornerstones of our modern lexicon that include things like I did a thing, adulting, and Saturdays are for the boys, is this just overt assertion and constant saying that nobody knows what's actually going on. And it's like this super confident assertion that everyone says, that no one seems to know what they're doing. But it's said in this confident, almost bewildered manner, that the whole world is just operating and going along while no one actually knows how it's going along, and that just everything seems to be happening by accident. Like it's something that people live by now, not just like an observation. It's something they actually choose to integrate into their decision making. Like people who are in a corporate job for like 10 years and then confidently say, oh, I still don't know what I'm doing. And then they always say it with like that sense of pride as if they were the first one to ever say a joke like that. This common trope of people explaining that they have no idea what they're doing coincides with the common trend of most chronically online 20-plus-year-old professionals that seek to infantilize aspects of life that historically aren't associated with adults, like tummy aches, emotional support drinks, and a sense of overwhelming spiritual fragility that would shatter instantly if a boss were to reply to a text with okay instead of okay. And I'm here to argue that while this argument is valid to some respects, it's not just this sweeping acknowledgement of wisdom that people seem to think that it is. And it can lead to this unhealthy way of living where people take this idea of gospel, and that if no one knows what's going on, therefore no one can know what's going on, therefore no one should even try to figure out what's going on or what they're doing. We live in a world that no longer has a solid belief in historic grand narratives. 100 years ago, we had the church, governments, ideas, and beliefs that provided us with a solid and unshakable worldview. We were told what our purpose in life is, who to trust, who not to trust, and where to put our efforts. Fast forward to today, and none of these pillars exist. Religious adherence is falling, divided and distrust in the government is a given at this point, and there is no overarching arbiter in our life telling us what to do. And before I go any further though, this isn't me saying this in like one of those reject modernity, embrace tradition, pseudo-fascist Instagram pages run by a 15-year-old. I just thought that was worth mentioning and putting out there. Regardless, this lack of grand narratives has left people with the sense that they're just stumbling through life to some extent. They aren't sure if the choices they're making regarding college, career, family, money, breakfast even, are the right ones in the grand scheme of things. This has led us to feeling that everything has come down to an educated guess, and just a series of educated guesses that have led me to sitting here talking to this camera, and then you with your own series of educated guesses eventually watching this on whatever it is that you're watching it on, probably while you should be doing something else. And as we get older and farther in our educated guest-driven lives, maybe through a few passing conversations with coworkers, memes on corporate work culture, or growing discontent with the seemingly nonsensical thought processes of those holding positions of power in society, many of us come to the conclusion that not only do we as individuals not know what to do or what is going on, but no one actually knows what to do or what's going on. And here, I feel like I just need to add some of my own thoughts into the arena. Throw my hat into the ring, as they say. When I was starting to read on this topic to start getting talking points, a lot of the things I was saying was kind of embracing this like pseudo-nihilistic view. They all had the same conclusions and messages. Follow your heart, reject negativity, find joy in the small things, blah, blah, blah. Stop. That's stupid. You know who else follows their heart? The Taliban. Telling someone to follow their heart strictly is probably one of the worst pieces of advice you could give someone. It basically takes you from an educated guess sense of living to just a guessing sense of living, just removing the educated part. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox before I have to rename this video why you shouldn't just follow your heart. But I'm sure that video will come down the chute pretty shortly. See, for example, this video isn't happening by accident. I quite literally had to drag myself out of bed to film this. I didn't accidentally come up with the idea, then write it out, edit it, film it, edit it more, publish it, and then slam dunk on the haters with clever responses in the comment section. It's safe to say that I realistically knew what I was doing when I wrote this and made this video. My point being is that there are times where you do know what you're doing, but why are we so adamant to claim that we don't? I think it just comes from the lack of assurance in our own capabilities and decision making that comes as a side effect of just everything. So much seems to be happening all the time. Truth is now some vague otherness. ChatGPT is writing our newspaper articles. Our dopamine receptors are fried to a crisp. Your favorite band is actually just an informal group of pedos, and it seems everyone's favorite pastime is just to argue about what the super rich of society are doing at this very moment. Reality is fractured in a sense. The deconstruction of a singular worldview combined with everyone everyone having a camera and ego, like me, has led to a near infinite expression of possible worldviews, and it's our job apparently to figure out which ones are good, which ones are bad, and find some kind of middle ground, leading to just this constant state of questioning if we're living life as we should, if we even have any idea of what we're doing on this short time on Earth. The bright side of just this infinite possible worldview that we have is that your opinions on what you think you should be doing are quite literally just as valid as anyone else's. Whether you agree with that or not, we can talk about that later, but that's kind of the state of the world we live in. Just because someone has more followers and an expensive camera doesn't mean that their worldview is any more legitimate than anyone else's. And it doesn't legitimize their life choices by any means. Just because someone is way more popular than me in every aspect of life does not delegitimize my future plans of just living under a bridge and screaming Mark Fisher quotes at passerbys who did not ask for it. See, if you're acting in accordance with what you think is important in your worldview, you quite literally know what you're doing. I think saying that absolutely no one knows what they're doing is ultimately unhelpful, defeatist, and if nothing else, way over dramatic. If my lack of inflection in my voice has told you anything, it's I don't like people overreacting. What you should take from the sense that no one knows what's going on is a sense of freedom. It's like the saying goes, you aren't doing it wrong if no one knows what you're doing. You quite literally can just decide that you do know in fact what you're doing. A lot of postmodernist readings teach us this through the notion of being before essence. Everything exists and we assign value for it. We're placed and begin operating in this world, and then we assign in our heads how we believe the world works, and then by extension how we act in said world to fit said model. Following this idea, we all have an equal understanding of what is actually going on, from that perspective at least. But because we all have equal world views, your decisions are just as valid as anyone else's, and that should be some sense of comfort. So don't stress out too much about it. Sure, we might just be living through a series of educated guesses, but entropy will one day destroy the universe, the sun's gonna explode in a few billion years, and all of yours and my earthly doings will be completely wiped out of existence. So in the meantime, you might as well enjoy that weird hobby you have.